Hey guys, I had a couple projects I want to do today. It's on a generator that I've got. I borrowed it from a neighbor of mine so I could use it when I weld. And he said he had taken it and emptied all the gas out of it and ran the carburetor dry the last time that he stored it. So I put fuel in it the other day, tried to start it up, and man, it just wouldn't really run. Ran with the choke on. Took the carburetor off of it and cleaned it up. Tried to run it again and it still didn't run very good. So, well then I just went on Amazon and I found a complete carburetor for it, filter, gasket, spark plug, and I'm just going to throw it on there real quick, see if it'll run. I'm sure it will. I'm really surprised I couldn't get that carburetor running. Usually I can clean these out pretty good. But I couldn't clean the center jet out at all. I wasn't able to get through it. And the way it's metered up through here, it's not like a regular jet. It's really kind of made kind of weird. So carburetor's pretty cheap. So I'm going to put that on here right now and get this one running. But this one here is a 5,000 watt generator. And I really need it to be able to run that welder right there, stick welder, and I don't think 5,000 was going to be enough. I've got several generators. I've got this little Predator 2,000 watt, and I've got another little 2,000 watt one here, a little Sportsman, both little small generators, and they both work really well. Not near enough to run a welder. And I've got this 3,500 watt Honda generator, and it runs, but it's really old school. It does have electric start on it, but I tried it on the welder and it wasn't strong enough to operate that welder. So I was looking around for a little while for a used, I don't know, 9,000 watt welder, big ones, and to find a used one, it's kind of like finding a big trailer. There's not very many of them around. So, well, I found one on Facebook. The guy wanted a couple of $100 for it, and I went over there and looked at it. It was a 9,500 watt starting, 7,500 watt running. Figured that'll probably run my welder. Probably run part of my house too. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it, and he had it running and plugged some stuff into it and it worked. But after I got it home, man, it wouldn't run without the choke being on full. So here's another project there that I'm going to do as well. So we'll get into that here in just a second. Let me show that one to you. All right, so this little generator here is a little 9,500 watt, 7,500 watt running, electric start. It's got a 50 amp, 240 volt output. Didn't have a battery, but he'd put a couple of leads on here to hook a battery up to it. I've got another idea about that. But so far I've just taken it and put a little fresh paint on it, cleaned it up. I put some tires on it and took the carburetor off of it to rebuild it. You know, I really want to run this thing off propane is what I want to do. And I found a carburetor on Amazon for, I think, about $50. I'll show you a picture of it here real quick. And I went ahead and ordered that carburetor. It's supposed to be here any time now, but for the time being, there's a couple of things I want to do on this one here in a second. Besides the carburetor work, I already went ahead and put a pull cord on it, do some paint on this cover, and what else? Well, I'll show you here in a second when I'm going to do this one, but let's work on my neighbor's generator first and get it running. Taking a close look at these carburetors, you can see where the throttle comes in here on top of this one. It's really not quite set up like this one. That's where that grommet would go, and that won't work. But this hole right there will. I'm going to drill that hole out, not to put that grommet in, because that's a big old hole. I'm going to do without the grommet. Now I'm going to put it, looks like to me the position of this one will match, so that's what I'm going to use. And also this bracket right here is going to need to come off. It's for a little shield that's on this one, and luckily this has the holes right here for it. So let's swap that real quick. All right, good to go. Let's try that on there real quick. Let's put this little air filter mount on here first. Good. So before we hook this fuel line back up in here, I think what I'll do is I'll put a little inline filter on this. Let's see if I've got one. Yeah, that'll work. So this is going to have a directional flow on it. You don't want it to flow this direction. It has a arrow on it right there. I don't know if you can see that, but the flow needs to go this way. So we'll shut that on like that. Shut that on like that. I'm going to go ahead and take some length off this here too. Turn the fuel on, see if she'll start up. Alright, I'm just going to put the air filter assembly back on, put this guard back on it here on the side, and then we'll be done with this one. Alright, so let's get started in the old Benford generator here real quick. What I've already done on this one was I took this panel off, it was bent up, and I straightened it back up, made sure the wiring looked like it was in good shape. And then I put some paint on it, I put these wheels on it, didn't have any wheels on it. And the plans are is I want to go ahead and I'm not going to put a battery in it. You know, you put a battery in a generator like this and then you don't use it for a year or longer, the battery goes dead. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of positive and negative studs right here that go to this position, and the studs stick out. I'll show you those. And then I can just clip on my little jumper, my 1000-amp jumper I have. I'll show that to you as well. So here's the leads right here. These are it's an insulated piece that goes between a piece of metal, and then you can clip on power to it. So I'll mount those, and then I've got some real nice battery type cable and a handful of ends, and I'll solder those on there to make a good connection with this. So let's do that real quick. Oh, here's the carburetor that came on there. I was going to rebuild this, but for the price of a carburetor that I can run propane and natural gas on, it just doesn't make any sense to go through this and make it run. That carburetor shit's coming from China. So we'll see when it gets here. It's supposed to be here in a couple of days. I ordered it, gosh, 3 or 4 weeks ago. So, and I'm also going to mount these. This is going to be a propane, for a propane hose, a quick disconnect. I'll mount this on the body of the generator. This will be on the end of the hose, and then it'll just clip in here like that, so I can quick disconnect it. I'm probably going to run this thing on propane most of the time. I bought this propane hose to go on there, and it'll fit on here like this, and then it'll just quick connect. It'll just quick connect to the generator. I'm not sure how long I need this. Let's see if we can figure it out real quick. It's going to come from here to about I don't know, somewhere about right here. It could be a little long because I can twist it. So So let's cut it off right there, another end on it. Got a new nut on it, and I took the lock washer off, left the flat one on it, and I'm going to see if you can get in there and catch some of those good threads. Just enough. That'll got it right there, didn't it? That'll work perfect. Right back here. Okay, negative side. Let's drill a couple of holes right here for those two cables to cut through. Oh shit. This is a 1000 amp jumper. Man, I've started a lot of stuff with this dude. Super convenient. So let's hook it up real quick. Perfect. Alright guys, well I got the carburetor in. Not much to it. Looks like the input's down here. It's got the same wire as the original does. And let's put it on real quick, and then we'll hook some propane up to it, see if it works. So let's identify some of the stuff on this carburetor. So this is pretty nice. On the bottom down here, it's got a drain to where you can open up and drain the fuel out. That's pretty handy. And this must be some kind of a flow control on it. So there's no directions that come with it, but let's see if it'll work. And it came with all three of the gaskets that were necessary. So there's a little spacer right here, and the spark plug wire actually goes through the top of this. So the first gasket to go on, this one, spacer, and this gasket. This gasket here, it goes on the outside of the carburetor before that plate goes on. Now the first thing I see down here on the bottom, this inlet right here is pointing right to the tire. I need that inlet really going that direction, and that hose can come in on this side. Yeah, it's going to have to go forward. So let's rotate that one just a hair. Just pointed like that. Well, so here's what just happened on that. It just snapped off. Now I'm going to have to figure out if I've got something to go in here. Alright, so I got it back together. That was kind of a real pain in the butt. I ended up, I didn't have the fittings that I quite needed, and I needed a 3/8 here on this end. So I did have this fitting. This ended up cracking, and I had to cut it off, threaded this fitting in, and then I'm able to use this, and that way I can spin it around whatever direction I need to spin it around to. And then one other thing I did find out, this is a primer button, so that when you're getting ready to start it, you push this button and it bypasses the diaphragm and it shoots propane into the carburetor. And this right here, I noticed while I had it apart, it says LPG and CNG. So this setting, looking down on the inside, I can see that as I turn it, that orifice is a different size from there to there. So when you're running on liquid propane, you'll have it set like this. If you run on natural gas from your house, you turn it like this. That's pretty nice, because they're not all like that way. So if you buy that carburetor, and I'll put a link to this one, if you buy a carburetor that's for propane, this is kind of handy to have because you want to run it on your natural gas in your house. So I'm going to put this back together on the carburetor, and we're going to throw it on that generator. This wire is for the solenoid. It's on the bottom of the carburetor. And that solenoid is so that whenever you turn it off, the solenoid blocks off the jet, so fuel can't flow through the jet, and it kills it, starves it for fuel. Okay, that'll work. And these little clips were on here to hold this wire. This is the choke lever right here. So again, here's what I have to go into the bottom of that carburetor. I'm going to take these two, put some Teflon tape on them, put them together. I'm going to get a short piece of 3/8 fuel line. I'll look to see if I have anything any different. Eventually I may see if I can get a a piece of propane line, but for right now I'm going to get a short piece, and then I'm going to take it and connect these two down here together on the bottom, just like that. Okay, so what I found is, I actually found a piece of air conditioner hose, 13/32, and that fits that 3/8 pretty nicely. So I'll put this together, Teflon tape on this, got a couple of hose clamps here, and I'll cut this the length I want. I'm actually going to exit it out toward the pull start cart, this side of the deal. And then here's the end that I'm going to need to put on the actual tank hose itself. So I've got everything I need. Let's put it together real quick. I got the hose all connected here on the bottom. Let's hook some propane to it and see if it'll work. Alright, so what I gather, you're supposed to hit this little button on the side of this carburetor, and it's supposed to prime it with some fuel. And let's see if I can hear it. Yeah, definitely hear it. So I'm going to prime it, turn it on, and I'm not going to bother using the little battery deal on it. I'm just going to pull it and see if it'll start. Now let's see if it'll run my welder, because that was the main reason that I wanted to do this big generator, so I could get my arc welder and be able to use it out there at the land to be able to build a pipe fence. So let's try this out and see if it works. Nice. Generator's done. Sure do appreciate y'all watching today, and we'll see you next time on Steve's Restorations.